Do you have an opening statement, Mr. Martin?
Yes, I do have an opening statement. I simply want to play a proactive, effective role in my son's life. I want to spend time with my son. And I think considering that there's 52 weeks in a year, spending only 2 weeks with my son is less than 3%. It's criminal. I feel that my disability, being in a wheelchair, should not disqualify me from spending time with my son. I have been professional, patient, and cordial with my mother's son, and we've had conflict and contention. One of the things that I would like to accomplish is getting some type of parenting counseling because she disagreed with the recommendations of the family of the court, and she also chose not to conclude mediation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Like
Okay. All right. I'm
I
just giving
just
you time.
want to play. I want to,
Yeah, I'm just giving you time.
I want my son to be with me a month in the summertime, not 2 weeks. And I'm asking the court to also allow me the opportunity to have makeup time. And I have proof and receipts that I've been there for my son. And I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I don't know what else to,
Okay.
she has said some disparaging things about my caregiver and my girlfriend. And I guess we'll address all of that. And I look forward to speaking with the psychologist.
All righty. Mr. Marin, what's your opening statement, sir?
Good morning, and may it please the court. Attorney Leah Marine on behalf of Johanna Rika Coy, P number 86480. Today, Your Honor, the evidence will show that the established custodial environment exists solely with defendant mother. As plaintiff father just spoke to his desires to spend more than 2 weeks at a time with his son, the reality is he's ignoring the fact that there is a established custodial environment that this court must take into account, one that has been established over the course of 9 years, where mother has been the sole source of guidance, discipline, and parental comfort for the entirety of the child's life. Over the past 9 years, mother has single-handedly made every major life decision for the party's child. She has taken him to every doctor's appointment. She has enrolled him in school, and she has made a home for him. And the court must consider and make a finding as it pertains to the established custodial environment before any award of custody can be made. And the evidence here will show that the custodial environment exists solely with defendant mother, as she has been the single guiding force here, consistent force. The child has lived and spent every overnight with mother, but for 2 weeks this last summer, pursuant to a temporary order. And we would like to reiterate that mother has never, in the 9 years, attempted to alienate the minor child from his father. She has actually spent a great deal of time facilitating a relationship with the child's father. She's brought him to, following his accident, mother brought him to the hospital. And that was at a time when the two parties themselves were not speaking, but mother felt that it was necessary to facilitate that contact. Mother has also facilitated phone contact between the child when there was no parenting time order in place. Again, no parenting time order existed for the last 9 years here. And again, father has never made a single child support payment in the last 9 years. And at this point, we are confident that the evidence will show that the established custodial environment exists solely with mother. The evidence supports an award of sole legal custody to mom, as she has and remains the only consistent parental force capable of making these legal decisions. She has made everyone up to this point, as well as it's never been mother's prerogative to prevent contact or parenting time between the child and father. She just wants to make sure that that is done in a safe manner that is healthy for the minor child. We suggest a graduated, schedule with the reunification period, one where a visit to Florida for father where the minor child would be accompanied by a family member, either Miss Coy herself or or one of her parents, where the child could spend the day with his father and then sleep at nighttime in a hotel or somewhere else with her parents. And this is our suggested reunification period. We understand that given the fact that Mr. Martin lives in a different state, it's going to take a very different, unconventional, it's going to look different than how they typically look. So again, our biggest position here today is we're asking the court find that the established custodial environment exists solely with mother, and that an award of legal custody be given solely to mother, as well as any, the best interest factors will support that that the child have a reunification period with father before delving right into 2 weeks of unsupervised parenting time. And lastly, we ask that the court impose child support, something that father has never been assigned or paid for the last 9 years of the child's life.
As to the child support, I'm going to ask a couple of questions about that, but let's get the psychologist in here. Well, let me ask him up front. Mr. Martin, you're on disability, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm on disability, and also several months ago, we tried to look into this, and they sent us a letter saying that I couldn't get access to the child support. I do send Hendrik $130
Well,
a month
well,
for
my
his
question,
jujitsu.
I guess my question, Ms. Coy, have you ever applied at DHHS? Because there should be a stipend off the disability for the child.
I did apply, and
And
they told me because he was disabled, he doesn't qualify.
the child's disabled?
Because his dad is disabled. There's
That's
two
what I
types.
mean. That's what I mean. Normally, there's a disability payment from his father's disability.
Correct. So from my understanding, there's two types of disability payments, and he didn't qualify for the one that would go to Hendrik because he didn't pay his taxes. That's taken, you pay into that one.
Well, in other words, he didn't get his 40 quarters in.
He was,
Yes.
well, yeah, he was
You have to
self-employed.
qualify for Social Security. You have to pay into Social Security for 40 quarters for full qualification. If you've paid less than 40, you are not fully qualified nor vested. And I think you just started with the fact that he was self-employed and didn't pay taxes,
He did not pay taxes.
which means, yes, there is nothing that we're going to be able to do about that. I can't take aid. I can't order child support against any form of state aid. So that way we clarify that. That way nobody has to go into any big issues on that. There's a reason nobody's touched it, Ms. Coy, and that's the reason. Under federal law, we're not going to be able to touch what he has. Just as I wouldn't be able to touch it if you were receiving state aid. State aid does not count as income, nor is it anything that I can touch, because the federal government determines who gets what, and the state court does not override federal law. I apologize for that. That's just the way it is. I wish I could help on that one, but I can only follow the law. So at this point in time, let's move on and bring in the psychologist. I thought I'd deal with that issue. I thought it was going to be better than that. I thought he'd have at least qualified for some payment, Ms. Coy. Normally they do, and normally the federal government then pays more than what he would pay as child support. You're just in a very bad, unusual situation. All right, doctor, welcome. You have been called as a witness in this matter. We're trying to get you in out of order so that you're in and out. Sorry, we had to do some preliminary stuff before we got you in here. So, doctor, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony? Uh-oh, did you connect?
No.
Okay, let's double check your connection. I don't think I heard you.
Yeah, and I don't. Am I
Yeah, can
supposed
you
to be
say-
able to see him? 'Cause if I
Well,
don't see him-
you should be able to see him, because the rest of us can see him. I can. Can everybody else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to see him. Miss Rodriguez, do your magic.
Right.
Doctor, let's check your connection. You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Here we go. I see
Okay.
you, Doc.
Okay.
I
All right.
see you.
Well, we're trying to get him to connect because I think he can hear us, but we can't hear him. Yeah, we can't hear him. The good news is we didn't have to drive everybody down to the courthouse. The bad news is these connection problems, while taking a few moments. It's no different than trying to find a witness who's gone to the bathroom at the courthouse when you're trying to, because they're all sequestered in the hallway. So you have to go out and get them.
Now,
Now.
Yep, we can hear you a little bit now.
Perfect. All right, doctor, let's try this again. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony, sir?
I do.
All right. Mr. Marin, you may examine your witness.
All right, thank you. Dr. Essex, can you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Trevor Essick.
What is your educational background?
Yes, I have a doctorate in clinical psychology that I completed in 2016 from the Adler School of Professional Psychology.
Do you have any areas of expertise?
Yes, my specialty is in child and adolescent psychology.
Do you have any published works?
I do not.
Okay. How long have you been treating Hendrik, the minor child in this case?
Since April of 2022.
How was he referred to you?
So Hendrik was referred by his mother initially to complete a second opinion evaluation to look at his social, emotional, and attentional, as well as academic functioning at that time. And then after completion of the evaluation based on recommendations, we began to work together in therapy starting around July of 2022.
July of 2022. Okay. And the second opinion, that was the underlying reason for the treatment?
Yes.
Okay. And during your course of treatment, um, have there been any underlying diagnoses or findings about the minor child?
Yes, so with the original evaluation that was completed, based on input from Hendrik's mother, his teacher, as well as the evaluation that I completed, there was concern to meet the criteria for a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder combined type, as well as a specific learning disorder with impairment in reading.
And has there been any prescribed treatment during your relationship with Hendrik?
Yes, so based on the evaluation data, recommendations were made to begin with therapy to work on his emotional regulation as well as some of his advocacy and communication skills. I also recommended that the evaluation be shared with his primary care physician to determine if there were any potential other medical treatments. And then there were recommendations provided for support within the school system to assist him with his regulation as well as with his academic progress.
While treating the minor child, how involved have the parents been?
Um, Hendrik's mother has been involved consistently since the start. Typically, the way the therapy sessions would go, his mom would come in the beginning. We would kind of talk all together, and then at that point, I would do individual work with Hendrik. Um, Hendrik's father reached out in somewhere between like August or September of last year, and then gave some input and some concerns that he had, and then has been given like medical records and then just therapy updates as we've been progressing since that point.
Did anything stand out to you about father's recent interactions with you?
The original kind of phone call and reaching out was, in a way, it seemed that Mr. Martin did not necessarily agree with the validity of the evaluation. There was some pressure to agree with the statements that he felt that Hendrik did not need to be prescribed medication at that time. Um, Outside of that, there has been just some updates from him around some concerns that he had around Hendrik's mother's parenting and how it could be impacting his child. He did also request to have another evaluation completed without Hendrik's mother being involved or present, which I tried to explain at that time that while Hendrik's mom kind of initiated the process, she wasn't actually present for the evaluation itself. And then outside of that, it's just been updates from the therapy progress.
Was there any pressure from the father to either reevaluate or recant a diagnosis?
He did give examples of why he felt the diagnosis was not appropriate, and often would state things like, "Would you agree? Do you feel that that again, that mom's input may have impacted the evaluation results and things like that?" And I reiterated to him again that while she gave input through the use of rating scales that she filled out and provided for the evaluation, she wasn't actually directly involved in the evaluation process.
In your professional opinion, are there foreseeable risks associated with being asked to set aside a professional finding to appease a parent?
Yes, that could be potentially harmful to the child's progress, especially since with the diagnosis, it gave us a direction of how to treat and assist Hendrik in his growth. And with the supports from Hendrik's mom and the school and through his therapy and with his medication support, there has been a great deal of progress in the last 2 years.
Was it your impression that Mr. Martin wanted you to set aside your professional opinion at any time and take in his into account?
Like I said, there was just pressure to want to reevaluate, or that the results may not have been valid, and that he wanted to take out Hendrik's mother's input in the evaluation because he felt like that may have been clouding the diagnosis.
Thank you very much. We don't have any further questions for I don't have any further questions at this time for Mr. Essick.
Before I turn it over for cross-examination, Mr. Essick, what evaluation tools were used in the
Yes,
diagnoses?
so we used the NEPSI, which is a neurological assessment looking at attention and executive functioning. It also looks at receptive language skills as well as memory skills. There was the behavior assessment rating scale for children, which was social, emotional, and behavioral rating scales that were completed by Hendrik's mother as well as his teacher at that time. The Wyatt, which is the Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, was used for academic assessment, as well as the tests of visual attention, which is a sustained attention task for visual-based information that looks at sustained attention as well as impulse regulation.
So other than the behavioral rating, the other tests are objective, not subjective, correct?
Correct.
And the behavioral rating is the only subjective one.
That is correct.
The other tests, however, are the one that you lean mostly on for diagnoses of ADHD, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted the record to reflect so that Mr. Martin understands. I have some background in this, so that's why I can ask the questions. I used to work on a psych unit, and I'm familiar with some of those tests. Mr. Martin, I just wanted you to know, because it's a way of asking to say most of these diagnoses are done on objective testing, not subjective testing, which means parental input is one thing, teacher input is one thing, but there are other tests that back up the diagnoses. That way you may more informatively cross-examine on this case, Mr. Martin. Please proceed on your cross-examination, sir.
How do you pronounce your name? Is it Ezeki?
Essick.
Essick. Mr. Essick, let me ask you a question. I initially spoke with you. Did you not tell me that you were going to send me my child's clinical notes and updates?
Yes.
Okay. And then why did an entire 3 months go by where I actually had to reach out to your manager because I was concerned, and she found that it was odd and important, and she emailed me the clinical notes and the updates immediately. Then I reached out to you and via email, and you told me you sent me 3 updates. However, it's been a 9-month window. So what I want to know is, why has it taken you? Why haven't you sent me? Why haven't you sent me those updates? Why haven't you sent me those updates? I want you to explain to me
Okay,
why it's taking
you've asked the question,
Yeah.
Mr. Martin. Let him answer it now. Thank you.
So to address the beginning concern, it was not 3 months before you received the initial documentation, which the request was submitted, as we do have someone in our office that does send those documentation out. I had submitted the request to have those sent over. I have provided you a few updates. There haven't been any recently because I've only had one appointment with Hendrik because of the holidays and everything, as well as I was out sick with COVID. So there was appointments that have been canceled. With the updates, I let you know on the original phone call that with my schedule how it is, that it might be a little bit of a delay before I can send you the updates. Secondly, the updates are more general to what is going on. And I have recognized, at least with the most recent update that I have provided you, you have been aggressively attacking what was being discussed when I brought up concerns for something that you could do to assist Hendrik. And your responses to me have been in a way that makes it challenging to provide you updates that how you can assist Hendrik, when each time those have been provided, you have continued to come back at me as if I do not have the knowledge to be able to assist your child, as well as when there are things that are in the sessions that are completed, that are things that I have concerns that if they are shared with you, that it could be detrimental to Hendrik's progress and or detrimental to the relationship that I have with Hendrik, that I do not provide any significant details in those updates.
Your Honor, I would like to, on page 109 of my trial brief,
I received no
have the-
trial. I received no trial brief. Miss LeVay, did you receive a trial brief?
No, I have
only
not received
received-
anything.
I
It would
only
be in the
received
file.
it's not in the file. The file is very thin.
That's what I'm saying.
I-
If I received anything, it would be in the file.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I only received a plaintiff witness list and a trial brief from Mr. Marine. So I did not receive anything from you, sir. When did you send it?
I sent it 2 weeks ago, and it's a lot of pages.
The court's not
There's
received it.
email, there's email evidence, there's text messages, there's a lot of thorough
Well,
information.
we will see if we can hunt it down. I will allow for the fact that you may proffer it. In other words, it's an offer of a proof at this point. What are you saying is on page 109 of your brief?
On page 109, it shows the interactions that I've had with him on via email,
Okay.
and you will notice that there is no type of derogatory language. I only spoke to this doctor once.
Okay. We have a witness on the witness stand.
Right.
You may question the witness.
Okay, doctor, let me ask you a question. Prior to Rika hiring you, oh no, you know what? Let me ask you this question. Are you aware that I've been trying to get your information for the last 2 years, and that I had to literally serve Rika court papers so that I could get access to not only your information, but the doctor's information that prescribed the ADHD medication to my son? Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Well, there you have it. The reason I got your information was because I had to serve her court papers.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, understood.
we-
Can I ask a couple questions here?
Yes.
Doctor, you said you started seeing this young man in summer of 2022, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when was your first contact with the father?
I don't have the specific date, but it was either August or September of last year.
So of 2023.
2024.
2024. So it had been 2 years that you'd been seeing the child, and then the contact was only made because he was only able to get the information. Okay, never mind. I'm just trying to put a timeline to it. All right. Please proceed. Any other questions, sir?
Okay, doctor, let me ask you. Prior to you being hired or interviewed, have you ever had a conversation with me and or have I ever had the opportunity to interview you?
No.
Okay. Doctor, let me ask you a question. Do you think that it is productive?
Objection, speculation.
Hold
Oh, sorry.
on. No, let him get the
Sorry.
question out before you object, Mr. Marine.
Sorry.
Okay, please continue and finish this, sir.
Do you think it's productive that there is not full transparency and that the father is not involved in the therapeutic process?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, let me simplify it. Do you think Hendrik will benefit from having both parents involved in therapy?
Depending on the level of engagement the child has with both parents.
Okay. Doctor, let me ask you. When you sent me an email and it said that context doesn't matter. Can you explain to me why context doesn't matter in regards to my son's psychological health?
Yes, sir. If you're talking about the very specific example that I assume you are referencing, when I shared information about the child's concerns, I was trying to explain to you that the context of why you said what you said does not matter to the child when it's the child's perception of what you meant and his reaction to that statement. That is what's important for the therapeutic progress because he came in with his feelings of being uncomfortable, being frustrated with a statement that you made. And what I was trying to explain to you, it doesn't matter what your intention was or what the context around what you said was, because what I work with Hendrik on is processing his emotions related to what is happening in his life. His perceptions are his perceptions. It doesn't matter what your intention or your perception was or the context. What mattered is how your child heard what you said and why that is important. Because you may have had context, you may have meant something that he didn't take it because it's his perception as an individual. And that was the concern that I was trying to address, that you have to watch what language you use with him because he reacts to that language. He has feelings, he has his own perceptions, and you have to be cognizant of how he may perceive what you say because his context is the context of a child and yours is the context of an adult. And so what's important is not your context, but his context, his perception. That is what I was trying to explain to you. And this is one of those instances where I was trying to assist you in how to be cognizant of your language. And your response back to me was very aggressive around the fact that you feel that you need to provide context. And I was trying to explain to you that does not matter because it's how your child perceives that information.
It's very important for me to be able to show the evidence of these emails in my trial brief, Your Honor. Doctor, I want to ask.
I will take notice. I will take notice of the trial brief once I receive it.
Doctor, I want to ask you a question. other than the one conversation that I had with you, has the information that you have learned about me, has it come to you exclusively from Rika and Hendrik?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, doctor. Has my son had a problem with lying and stating his concerns about being bullied in school?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a problem with lying. It's developmentally appropriate for all children to lie, particularly to avoid getting in trouble. That is a very normal, typical developmental thing that children go through. Like at most other children, yes, Hendrik has lied at some points to avoid getting in trouble, and has experienced bullying, as most kids do when they are going through school at some point.
Okay, Your Honor, in my trial brief, I have text messages where the mother refers to me as a bully. And she's had exchanges with me over the phone while my son has been present, calling me a bully. And I just find this interesting that my son is saying that he's being bullied at school.
All right,
Objection,
sir,
Your
you
Honor.
need, there needs to be a question here for the witness. When you want to testify, you may testify. You're not testifying. You're not the one under oath here. The psychologist is. So please address your questions to him. When you get to testify, I will swear you in and you may testify all you wish.
Okay, do you think, okay, let me ask you a question, doctor. Do you think that I should have been made aware of you and the doctor that prescribed my son ADHD medications?
That's outside of the scope of my expertise to answer.
So you can't answer me that you can't.
Objection.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. There are other contexts to this because there are many cases in which one parent cannot or does not have access to one. And that's going to be some of my questions and what I'm hoping to elicit during the testimony here. I've got a 9-year-old child who you've rarely seen over 9 years, been rarely involved with, and up at these times, you did not have legal custody. Until judge ordered a joint temporary order granting you some legal custody, you're the one that signed off on the affidavit of parentage, sir, that giving her sole legal and sole physical custody until order of the court could be entered. So she had all the authority here. So I don't know what contact you had with the child. So if it was or was not appropriate, so the psychologist definitely wouldn't know that. Those are a lot of the questions that need to be answered at this hearing as to what the engagement has been for the past 9 years. Because technically, she's the one that's been doing all this, and she's the one that had the authority to do all this. So I don't know whether she should have or could have or would have engaged you in this because I don't know what the level of your engagement was. It's my understanding that you were incarcerated in federal penitentiary for some period of time. You got out, and at some period of time, you got into an accident that incapacitated you. I don't even know those timelines. I'm hoping that somewhere in this hearing, you will tell me. So no, the psychologist has no ability to answer you whether it was appropriate or not, because that's beyond the scope of what he's doing. He's treating a patient. Your son is his patient, not you, not the mother, the son. So again, let me try and put this in context for you so that you can proceed appropriately. Because I will be trying to elicit all of that information, hopefully throughout this hearing. But the psychologist is the inappropriate person to ask that question of because he doesn't have the legal basis or standing for figuring out when and if or when you should have been engaged. Okay? I'm not even sure yet.
Okay, Your Honor, I understand. I just want to make you aware that timelines and evidence have been provided in my trial brief. I have specific timelines, receipts, and dates
Mr.
showing
Marine,
that
all right, Mr. Marine, did you receive that?
I did receive a trial brief from From Mr.
Okay.
Martin, yes.
So you have the ability to review that. The court
Yes,
didn't have.
yes,
Okay.
I have
Well, then
reviewed
I
it.
will reserve my right to review it as well. So, but let's keep with this witness, Mr. Martin, please.
I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
Let's keep with this witness. We'll get to your trial brief
Yes.
eventually with your testimony. Let's get to
Yes,
testimony
sir.
from this witness, please.
Okay.
Any further questions, Mr. Martin, of this witness? Mr. Martin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further questions of this witness, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, any further re-examination, Mr. Marine?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, in that case, doctor, you are excused. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
You have a good morning.
You as
Okay.
well.
All right, we are in your case in chief, Mr. Martin. Who would you like to call as your first witness?
I would like to call Rika as my first witness.
Okay. In that case, Ms. Coy, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony? Okay. Try that again.
I do.
Okay, there we go.
Mhm.
All right, that time I heard you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you've been called as a witness. Obviously, you are a party to this matter, so you are a witness at any time. Mr. Martin, you may examine this witness.
Rika, let me ask you a question. Who did you live with when we had our baby?
Who did I live with? We
I'm
were
sorry.
in. Say that again.
The question is, who did you live with when we had our child?
I was in your apartment for a month, and I was sharing. I paid half the rent, and Hendrik was a month old, and then we moved into a house that was purchased with me and my parents. And you did not. You kept your apartment. You did not move in with us.
Okay, let me ask you this, Rika. Do you not remember showing up to my apartment at 3819 West Diversity in Chicago? With your-
Objection.
Hold on, let him ask the question, Mr.
Oh,
Marine.
sorry,
I mean,
sorry.
come on, let's find out if there's a reason for objection first, okay? Let him get the questions out. All right, what's the showing up at your apartment in Chicago? Yes.
Do you not remember showing up to my apartment in Chicago with your mother and your sister and packing up all my things and moving me to the property in Stone Circle?
Packed up my things. I had, so before Hendrik was born, remember, I moved in with you for a couple months. My lease has ended. And so I decided that it would be good to be with you because you're his father. So I moved all of my storage containers, all of my like portable closets that I had, a desk and everything. My computer was all in your apartment. So they came and helped me move my things out of my apartment. What things of yours went to the house?
All right, it's
Oh, sorry, I should
ma'am, that's
ask
okay.
you.
Yeah, you don't get to ask the questions, he does. You'll get your shot. All right, Mr. Martin.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you telling me that I did not live with you at Stone Circle? At the property at Stone Circle Drive?
You slept there. You stayed with us, but you kept your apartment. You never transferred your address. You didn't update your ID to Oaklawn. You stayed in Chicago. You kept your apartment until you went away to jail.
If that was, let me ask you, Rico. You don't remember me making you breakfast, cooking breakfast for you and the baby, and while you went to work, I would take Hendrik to the babysitter. That couple, I believe the gentleman's name was Glenn and his wife, an older couple. You don't remember that?
Say the name again.
Rika, do you not remember me living with you in Stone Circle and waking up every morning and making you breakfast and my son breakfast?
I remember you occasionally making us breakfast some mornings. We lived in the Stone Circle house for like a month or so before we started renovating. Remember, we got the house. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay on topic. So I remember you making breakfast occasionally. I don't specifically remember you taking Hendrik to daycare. I mean, it could have happened once or twice because I was working. But it was not a daily thing. And also, my mother took care of Hendrik at that time. He was very tiny. I didn't start working until he was 3 months old. So, and then at that time, my mom watched him 2 days a week. And then what I could afford was at the daycare people. But it wasn't a full-time thing. So, almost half the time he was going to my mom's.
Your Honor, I have evidence that I would like to provide in Exhibit B on page
Okay.
65, 66, and 67. Pictures. Let me ask you,
Okay.
Rika.
Hold on,
Okay.
hold on, sir. You have the copies of the pictures. I do not have them yet, Mr. Marine. Any objections to those pictures?
Well, I have to find them. Would you please recount what pages you're referring to, Mr. Martin?
65, 66, and 67.
65, 66, and 67.
Correct.
No, Your Honor, we have no objection. We'll stipulate to the entry of the
Okay,
pictures.
those three pages will be entered into evidence as exhibit number 1. And as a backup, Mr. Marine, I'm going to have you scan that document and email it to us, if you don't mind.
Will do. It's very large, so I think that's part of the reason why it's having
Correct.
trouble to be transmitted there.
Right. And if you have to divide it into 4 different sections.
Yeah, I can do that, Your Honor.
Oh, never mind. My clerk just informed me that they sent the trial brief to me and it has been forwarded to me. I just didn't notice because I've been paying attention to you all appropriately. So give me a second here. Let me take a look and see if I can bring it up. That way I can look at page 65, 66, and 67. Oh, I haven't received it yet, Ms. LeVay. I received the front of the court report, but not the... Let me see. Maybe
Reed said I
this
sent
is
it to you.
Okay.
It's in my sent
Hold on, let me-
folder.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, you did receive the Friends of the Court order?
No, I always have it in the background. I will not look at it unless it's entered into evidence, but I always have it available. So
Oh,
I had
okay.
my clerk send it to me earlier. Let's see.
Resubmit it.
Nope. There's let me see. It's downloading. It's going to take a minute. Obviously, I don't know how many total pages. 116 total pages. Okay, let me get to page 65, 66, and 67. That way we can all look at the same thing at the same time. Okay, I'm on page 65. It has not loaded yet, but we may proceed. I'm sure it will load momentarily. Let me
Okay.
put this
I
on,
can
put this
continue.
onto my other screen. Yes, please continue. We'll
Okay.
enter that as exhibit number 1.
Okay.
Oh, I got it.
So-
65, 66, and 67. Okay. Yeah.
The baby book.
Yeah, there we go. All righty. Please proceed, sir.
Rika, you don't remember me moving all of my things into the 3rd bedroom in the back of the home?
Oh, you're muted, Miss Coy.
Your things in the 3rd bedroom of the home? I don't remember that. I
You don't
remember all
remember-
of your things staying at the apartment, and I remember being upset and telling you that I wanted you to move out of the apartment, and you wouldn't do that. that's one of the parts of the deteriorations of the
So I didn't move all
relationship.
my things. So I didn't move all my things into that third bedroom, and it was designated for Uriah and both Hendrik. My night. He's not. Well, now my son's 19 years old. But back then,
I remember your mom and sister sleeping in that third bedroom, but I don't remember all of your stuff being in there. I remember setting it up for Uriah to when he would come over. But did you have a question about the book, the pictures?
who took those pictures?
I took those pictures. That book.
I would assume except for the one that you're in, right?
Exactly. His mother took that one.
Okay.
How old was Hendrik in those pictures?
He was very little. So all of these pictures were taken at my house, except for where we're hiking, obviously. And on page 65, I'm sorry, at my parents' house. And except for on page 65 was at your apartment, and you can see he was a very tiny infant.
Okay, but there's an accusation in your trial brief that I wasn't in my son's life after 2 weeks of him being born.
No.
So which
After 2 weeks of him being born,
I'm saying is that
let her answer the question, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
You interrupted her answer. All right, Miss Goy.
So your question is, I made an accusation of you. I'm sorry, say your question again.
Ma'am, your brief indicates that he was not involved with the child's life since the child was 2 weeks old. He's questioning about the validity of the timing.
I didn't say that he wasn't involved since he was
Okay,
2 weeks
because
old.
it is in the trial brief. Normally, that would have been reviewed with you prior. So you're saying the trial brief is inaccurate as to timing.
2 weeks?
Yeah, that's what the trial brief indicates.
Yeah, that's not it.
Okay,
I lived in his apartment for a month.
Okay, well, I was going to say the testimony already says that you guys were together for at least a month after the child's birth and 2 months prior to the child's birth. A time period of 2 months. I don't know if those are connected, consecutive, or 2 months, then you guys were separated, then you moved back in once the child was born for at least 1 month. Okay. All right, so there's your timeline, Mr. Martin. The trial brief is incorrect, and that has now been corrected on the record. Clerical errors like that do occur sometimes. So, but thank you. That's why we have examination and cross-examination. That way they can be clarified. All right, please proceed.
Okay, Rika, I have a question for you. Do you remember driving me to prison?
Yes, I drove you to prison.
Do you remember that while I was incarcerated for 1 year and 17 days, that I had all my storage, I had all my personal belongings in your shed, in your backyard?
We had a couple of things in the shed, but I believe Sonette and JJ took them. No. Yeah. Sorry, this was a while ago now. So when you went to jail.
When I went to jail,
your
did I not put it
cleared out? I believe your dad took a bunch of your stuff to his business to store it.
No, I think you're mixing that up with when I got into the motorcycle accident. The question is this.
No, your dad didn't get stuff from the motorcycle accident until JJ and Sonette wanted it out of their garage. I remember that.
My things were never put in their garage.
It was under their care.
Objection.
I don't know where they.
Let him try and get this timeline out because I still don't have a timeline. When did you drive him to prison, ma'am?
It's too right.
It was the day he was supposed to go to jail.
Approximate time? Fall of what years? Month of what year?
I
I
have
know that.
dates.
Well, in that case, we'll get to the dates then when we do when you
Yeah,
testify, sir.
yeah, on page
Okay,
2, I have,
that's okay, ma'am. You don't. I realize this is 9 years ago. I mean, we've got 9 years of history to go over. Some of this is not
Right.
relevant, but some of it needs to lay foundations for the rest
yeah,
of it.
I
page
recorded the date as, never mind.
Okay.
April 14th, the middle of April,
Of what year?
2016.
2016. Okay. How old was the child then?
He would have been a year, a year and a month.
Okay, so 13 months old. All right, please continue, sir.
Rika, let me ask you a question. So, did I have a home to return to when I was in prison?
Sorry, my speaker is not very good. Could you say that first part again?
Okay. I had all my storage in your shed. Did I have a place to live when I got out?
When you got out of prison,
Yeah.
you went to a halfway house. I don't know that all your
Okay.
stuff was in the shed.
Okay.
I remember we built the shed and stored some of your things. I don't remember that it was all of your stuff. I think we helped you out because you were in a hard spot.
Okay, my intent. Okay, my question. Let me ask you like this: Was my intention? Was the intention for me to return to your home when I got out of prison?
Sorry, my intent, say that again?
Was it your
Was
intention to have him move back in with you after he got out of prison?
No, we had broken up. So we broke up, like the week before.
The week before he went to prison or the
week?
week before he got out of prison?
I'm sorry, the week before he went to prison, we were in the car, sitting in the car together. And I remember breaking up with him and him, we had a mutual agreement about something. And that was it. And then I still helped him. He's still my son's father. So, I was willing to drive him to jail. I didn't know Vanessa was so involved in his life. I think I would have let somebody else drive him at that if I knew that. But
objection, Your Honor. Vanessa was not involved in my life.
Well,
At that
that's her.
time.
She's the one whose testimony, and that's not objectionable. You may further ask about what her knowledge is on that.
Okay. So
Like
let me ask
the question would be,
you,
why would you believe that whoever this was involved? And the person who's sitting next to you does that one more time, they will have to leave the room. You don't get a second chair on this, sir. I
I'm
heard
sorry,
the objection coming from a female voice off to the side. And then your objection. That happens
Oh,
again, that person has to leave the room. You cannot
okay,
be
yes, sir.
coached.
Okay. So Rika, let me ask you this. If you and me broke up when you dropped me off in prison, why did you visit me several times?
be fine. Because you're
Sorry.
going through a hard thing. And I thought it would be good for you to see Hendrik occasionally. Are you trying to prove something? I mean, I was with you. My statements were saying that I was the sole caretaker of Hendrik. I was responsible for all of it. You were not living with us. You would come over, help out. Sometimes you would sleep over, sometimes make breakfast, and then leave. And you always were in your apartment. You never became part of our family. You stayed on your own.
Did I not pick up Hendrik and take him to gymnastics?
That was after jail?
Yes, or after jail, did I not provide for my son, take him to gymnastics and buy groceries and give you money?
You did not pay for gymnastics. I paid for gymnastics.
Okay, if that is the case, did you not pay for gymnastics with the money I gave you?
How much money did you give me? I was working full time.
Okay, are
I
you
was
telling?
paying for the house. I paid for all the utilities. I was paying for the food. You would stop by occasionally and bring food and then eat what was left in my fridge.
Okay, are you telling me that when? Are you saying that when I got out of prison and I started working 2 months later, that I would not give you uh, several hundreds of dollars to take care of Hendrik, and that I wouldn't buy him things like the I wouldn't buy him things like his baby chair and um, other things. Are you telling me because I have proof that I've given you money afterward. There's I have on the trial brief I have checks. Even when I got hurt, you said that I haven't provided you ever with money. Even when I
Are
got
you
hurt,
questioning? What's your
Oh, I
question?
don't think she ever said that you didn't pry it at all. She just said it wasn't that much or wasn't that often.
Your Honor, even
So
when I
yeah,
was Your Honor, even when I was paralyzed in the hospital, I wrote her a check for
okay.
$4,000,
Well,
$4,000.
where are those checks? You said you have them in your trial brief. What pages? I believe I saw some checks early on in the trial brief. I scrolled down it at one point to make sure it all
Yeah,
connected.
While you're looking, can I respond?
I'm sorry, what, ma'am?
While you're looking, can I respond?
Sure.
You would occasionally give money. It was inconsistent. It was different amounts. You would occasionally buy things. I was the one who was consistent and regular and providing for Hendrik, and you would occasionally stop by with things.
All right,
I'm
page
not saying that
70,
you did not.
Exhibit C.
Exhibit C, yes, page 70 and 71.
Okay. So, are you offering those as an exhibit, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Marine?
Did it,
My only
you-
question, sorry.
Well, you could lay a foundation for this probably first. Like, does she recognize these checks? Ma'am, did you receive the
I'm
brief?
sorry. Which page?
Ms. Coy, did you receive the trial brief?
I did. I'm sorry. What page
Okay, it
is
would be
that?
page 70.
I don't. It was a long time ago. I don't
I
recognize
understand.
it. It's
All right.
my name is misspelled, but I mean, other than that, that's my name.
Okay.
you're under oath, Rika.
What?
I don't. It's from 2019. I don't remember. I don't remember specifically. I don't know, but I was in a pretty panicked state for a long time, being the
Okay.
sole caretaker of Hendrik. So some of my memory is pretty. I don't remember things very well.
Okay, you don't remember my mother? You don't remember my mother providing you with the checks?
Oh, I
My,
remember
my
I remember your mom giving me a check out of your account. I don't remember.
Those are the
I
checks.
don't remember the total amount. I remember it being a little less than what she said it was going to be. But I thought it was a
So,
check, not a money order. I don't know. She often, she wouldn't spell my name right. So I don't know. Is that your mom's handwriting?
all right, Your Honor. I just want to make sure that you have this exhibit and proof. Those are
I have an
the checks.
exhibit. I have an exhibit. I have no proof. These checks look sketchy at best. They're money orders, but they have no backing. They have no signature on the back. They have no signature on the front. They just have it made out to a name. It doesn't even, I can't even tell if they've been cashed.
Okay, Rika. So let me ask you a question. My mother didn't give you any money.
I did not say that. I said she did give me money. I remember her giving me a check. Before she handed over the account, she was the person who took your place, your representative because you were injured. I don't remember the word for that. but she was in charge of your account. I remember before she handed it back to you because she told me that you were asking for it back, and she was hesitant to give it to you because she didn't want Vanessa to handle it. She paid me some money, and then she gave it to your dad, and then your dad gave you the account. That's my recollection of what happened. And this is when we were in Florida, so 2019, 2020.
Okay, so let's okay, I acknowledge your response. Let me ask you a question.
Back to Mr. Marine, is there an objection to these exhibits? Is there?
Yes, Your Honor, we object. I don't believe that sufficient foundation or I don't believe the documents have been properly authenticated.
I'm not sure they have either. What I am going to do is I am going to enter Exhibit C, but I'm going to weigh it appropriately because I think there's going to need to be some more questions on these, like what was going on about the time. I have some concerns about the dates and the amounts. It's like, why would there have been such amounts transferred over a 2-day period? So my questions are going to be, if they're not asked by somebody else, what the hell was going on in May of 2019 that would have needed such transfers of money? Because normally if you're transferring money for a child, you're transferring in small amounts over time. These are 3 large amounts in one amount that doesn't make sense over a 2-day period. So I'm going to want some questions and cross-examination on what the heck was happening at this time to elicit such a transfer. So I'm going to admit it to be cross-examined, but I am going to note that the court's going to minimally take this into account because I'm not sure if the checks are cashed, who got them, what the heck happened. These look more like receipts, but they're not even signed receipts. It says money order, but it does not look like any money order I'm used to. Normally the money order has the bank and other things that are attached to it. And this just has her handwritten name, a listing of money order. There is an upper right-hand number. There is then an amount, a fax fee, and total. Or fee, I'm sorry, it says fee, not fax. It's very, very tiny. So I'm not even sure what these are. So I'm going to allow for some further testimony on that or to find out what was going on at the time.
Your Honor, I received an insurance settlement. I had Progressive
Well, when you get, that's
Insurance
why I'm going to say, when we get there, that's when you can testify to this. So you need to validate what was going on and why this money would be testified to. She's testified to the fact that she doesn't remember. I want to know what happened because of something like that, which will give me more of an idea about what's happening between the two of you over this 9-year time period that I have to review, because normally I'd look at you and go, 9 years ago, I really could care less. But because we have prison, accidents, moving back and forth between many states, I need to know where your lives crossed with this child, both of you, and what was going on. And so far I've gotten that at some point you were on again, off again. There was times that you were involved in each other's lives and you were involved in the child's life, but that was long ago. And then I don't know when gymnastics happened. I'm assuming a 3-month-old did not get entered into gymnastics. So maybe somebody could clarify what age he did that at. So please continue, Mr. Martin.
Rika, how old was Hendrik when he went to gymnastics?
How old was he?
Yeah, when I took
Well,
him
he
to
started
gymnastics.
with Ninja. He started at Ninja Stars, and that was before preschool. So I think he was like 3.
Okay.
I think he started maybe 3 or 4. It was before preschool.
Was Mr. Martin involved in Ninja Stars? Because we've had testimony about gymnastics, and before we move on, I'll see if I can elicit that so I have it in my notes in the right proper place.
I don't remember. So I would take him, and my mom would take him. My mom said to me recently that Ulysses did come a couple times to take him to Ninja Stars or to the gymnastics, but I really don't remember that.
When did he start gymnastics? That question was asked, but never really quite answered.
Oh, when did he start?
Gymnastics.
I'm thinking when he was 3.
So same thing, approximately 3 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Ninja Stars
So again,
is
6 years
gymnastics.
ago.
Yeah.
What area were you all living in at that time?
I was in Oak Lawn, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago.
I'm from Northwest Indiana. I'm familiar.
Oh.
Chicago used to be my playground. I was only 25 minutes away from downtown Chicago, so spent a lot of time in Chicago. So when you guys brought it up, at some point I'm going to want a time period about where you guys lived and when to give some guidance here, so that I know when you guys moved from where to where, because I understand Chicago's involved, Florida's involved, Michigan's involved, so I don't know where you were and when you were. So that's why I'm allowing for this timeline, because I got to figure this out. I got to put together 9 years worth of your lives and this child's life to figure out what to do on behalf of the child. Okay, Mr. Martin, you may proceed. Sorry for I keep interrupting, but I'm trying to clarify information in my notes so that when I review this, I have some, it doesn't come at me hopscotched or leapfrogged, whichever.
Oh, Your Honor, I absolutely appreciate your coherence and the clarity that you're providing.
I'm trying because
That you don't even need to explain.
I need the clarity, folks. I need it because I want to make a decent decision. I can only make a decision based on the information that you guys elicit. So I have a list of questions that I'll be asking if they're not asked. So as you're going, I'm doing this, but with some things I want timelines and stuff so I understand, how this is progressing. So please proceed, Mr. Martin.
Okay, I want to ask you a question, Rika. Have you ever withheld my involvement with Hendrik?
Have I withheld your involvement? No, I have not. I've always connected your calls. I brought you to see him. When you were in the hospital, I brought you to see him. When we weren't together, I brought you to see him. In the hospital, in the nursing home, and in Florida.
Okay, let me ask you this. In spite of the court order from Judge Bryant to allow me to speak to Hendrik 3 times a week, visually on video chat,
Never said that.
in spite of that court order, did you, upon Hendrik's return from summer vacation, have you not refused to let me see him visually?
I would like to clarify that Judge Bryant's temporary court order does not state that it needs to be a video chat. It just says phone call. And I've given you 2 ways to speak to him. Unfortunately, one way did not work out with video chat, and you chose not to do a Zoom or Google Meet. That was your choice. You could have gone through the computer. I let you know that, and that was your choice. You only wanted to do it through the phone.
Your Honor, I would like to state that if you look at Judge Bryant's court order, it does specifically say that I need to see him visually. Now, what I want to ask you, let me ask you, when you came down to Florida in 2021 to let me see my son for all of an hour, did you not recall your mother sending me a text that that girl that lives with me cannot be present during my son's visit?
Asking me if my mom sent you a text about that girl that lives with you cannot be present?
Objection. Hearsay.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, that is.
Well,
Well, yeah, you're bringing up what another person said who has not testified and is not a party, so it is hearsay.
okay, well, Your Honor, on page 15, I have text messages from her mother, and she has also been subpoenaed.
Where the text did the text message involve, were these text messages sent to Miss Coy?
They were sent to me.
Okay, but were they from Miss Coy or just from the mother?
That particular text message. That particular, okay. She didn't want
If
to
that
visit me.
if that was from the mother, then the mother is the appropriate person to cross-examine and examine,
Okay.
because Miss Coy
Well, I
would
look
not have
forward to
received
it.
these.
I look forward to it. Well, in either
Okay.
case, so Rika, let me ask you this. Did you not insist on Vanessa not being present in our own home when Hendrik came to visit me?
So when
Or
I
otherwise
paid for us to go to Florida and chose to bring him to see you, I thought it would be a nice thing to do. I asked that Vanessa not be there because I have concerns about Vanessa and things she's done in the past, and I didn't want to be around her. And that if you wanted to see Hendrik, I asked that she not be there because I was going to be there, and I didn't want to have to deal with that.
Okay, so now that you're saying that you were concerned about what Vanessa, let me ask you this. I'm sorry, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a conversation with Vanessa in the last have you ever had a conversation with Vanessa in the last 5 years?
The last time we were in Florida, she spoke to me, and I responded. And then there was a
Okay.
phone call. There was a phone call when we were coming home, and there was a long conversation, and she spoke most of the time.
Let me ask you, Rico. You're saying that explain to me what Vanessa has done.
So to go back in context, all I knew of Vanessa was that she was an employee. Okay, this is going to take a second. So at that time, I knew she was an employee. When we were together, at one point, you told me you're sending her back to Mexico. I didn't understand what that meant at that time. I was like, okay. And then the next thing I knew was that I had caught you cheating on me with someone. I didn't know who this person was. I was suspicious it was Vanessa. And then after your accident, your mom came to town to take care of your things and take care of your apartment and your business. And Vanessa was there with her. I knew Vanessa was the one that found out that you were injured. And so when your mom was there in Chicago taking care of your things with Vanessa, they started working together. And then your mom was suspicious that Vanessa had kept some of the money and didn't tell her because she showed up in like new clothes or something like this. And then your mom had an issue with Vanessa. Weren't getting along. It was with you, and when you're in the ICU, she asked her not to see you or something because she wasn't cooperating, and your mom was in charge. You were almost dead, right? So your mom was dealing with a very difficult situation with her son, and Vanessa was making it harder on her. So your mom blocked her from the hospital. Then Vanessa had locked your mom out of the apartment. Your mom was trying to get back in. Vanessa called the cops on your mom, who is like 50 something at the time, and told the cops that she was afraid for her life. And then, so that's what I knew until the point of you got transferred to a nursing home. All I knew was that Vanessa was still blocked. I was bringing Hendrik to see you. You were telling me that you love me and all this stuff. And then you asked me specifically when I'd be back. I said I didn't know, and I ended up showing up, I don't know, a couple days later because I had the time and I brought Hendrik. And there she was in bed with you. So you guys I felt like you were conspiring against me. Or you're trying to trick me, or, that you were in cahoots together. So I had a very negative perception of Vanessa. So I did not want to be around her. I didn't want my son around her. I was worried about the judgment calls that she would be making.
Have you ever had a an interaction with Vanessa?
Your house in Florida.
Did you ever? I'm sorry. What was that?
At your house in Florida.
Okay. Did you ever ask me about Vanessa?
Well, you told me she was an employee, you know, just like this was early on when we were dating. And you said sometimes she would give the girls that came in like the stink eye or something and try to scare them away. That's all I remember.
Rika, let me ask you. Let me ask you regarding my son's recent visit to come see me. You're on your trial brief. On your trial brief, you're indicating that you would want to request a reunification window of 2 weeks. However, Judge Bryant ordered you to allow Hendrik to come spend 2 weeks with me. He spent 2 weeks with me. Do you recall seeing the pictures that he came back home with?
He showed me some of them.
Okay. So do you think that did Hendrik have a good time? Did Hendrik spend a good time with us here for those 2 weeks?
Did he have a good time? You know, that's up for him to say. It seemed like he had some fun things, like he went to the soccer, took him to a soccer game, and he seemed to like the gym, like that he worked out. There was some things that happened that made him really uncomfortable. Like how you would speak to him. Did I answer your question?
Have you ever No, you didn't answer my question, Rika. What I want to know is why do you feel that you would have to come to Florida after Hendrik successfully spent 2 weeks with me? I paid for a chaperone for him to come here both ways, and in spite of me paying for a chaperone, you lied to me that he came with his grandmother. His grandmother also accompanied him on the airplane. So what I want to know is when I dropped off Hendrik at the airport, and I seen your mother there, she then disclosed to me that she traveled with him. And if that was the case, why would you obligate me to pay for a chaperone?
Why would you be obligated to my mom's time?
I'm sorry, what was
Hey,
that?
could you answer the question, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry. So
If you knew the child's grandmother was going, why was there the necessity of a chaperone?
I didn't tell him that my mother was going because he had opened the court case against us, and against me, and this was a new experience. Hendrik's 9 years old and traveling alone to Florida. He was okay for him to fly unaccompanied minor, never having flown by himself before, never being out of state alone before. It was very nerve-wracking. So I asked my mom if she could fly with him.
Okay.
I did not let Ulysses know. We were in not talking. It wasn't good at that time. And I did it for Hendrik's safety. What if something just a couple weeks before the airline shut down? Like there was something that happened and nobody was flying. There were people that were staying overnight in the airport, and this was just a couple weeks before Hendrik was to fly out. Oh, there was a technical computer glitch that shut down the airport.
All right. Okay. You're not done?
It was nerve-wracking. I did it for Hendrik's safety. I didn't feel like he was concerned enough about Hendrik getting to Florida and Hendrik being safe. I needed more reassurance. And I also, to help Hendrik, the point of my mom going was so that he could go through the steps like he was alone, but my mom was there just in case something could happen.
Okay, Rika, let me ask you this. Do you think that I would have objected to having Trudy,
Oh, no.
my son's
I don't
grandmother?
think you would have objected at all. I think you would have said, oh, great, now I don't have to pay for this.
Okay, well then why didn't you suggest it and why wasn't it done?
Because it was your responsibility of what the judge had ordered. It was your responsibility to pay for all of this. I was doing this on my own, of our own accord, for Hendrik's sake. You still had your full responsibility to get Hendrik to Florida.
Okay, but why wouldn't there just simply be transparency? If the judge tells me, hey, Mr. Martin, you got to pay for a chaperone, the plane ticket, it was $300 both ways just for the chaperone. I spent over $1,000, which I don't even have that kind of money. But let me ask you, why, if it was, even though it's my responsibility, and the judge says, Mr. Martin, you got to pay for for these expenses, why do you feel that there just shouldn't have been some transparency? And why couldn't you have just told me, hey, Ulysses, I feel safe if my mother also accompanies him. And then another thing that concerns me is you told Hendrik. Did you ask Hendrik to lie to me that he traveled by himself?
I did not ask him to lie to you. I said to him, don't bring it up to your dad. I didn't think it was worth you knowing. It was between him and me and grandma. It didn't have anything to do with you. You were taking care of your responsibility. And I is having my mother fly along because it was my concern. We were not talking at that time. You opened up the court case against me and there's contention between us.
So you feel that withholding information from me is not a form of lying?
Withholding what information? It didn't affect you at all.
Okay.
It was for Hendrik's safety. You are being upset because you paid more money for something.
Oh,
you feel entitled to my mom's time and want that money back.
Okay. Rika, why did Hendrik tell me? Hendrik literally told me, Dad, I traveled by myself. And then on his
objection sustained. Next.
Sustained.
Yeah, sustained. You can't say what the child said.
Okay.
Bottom line, she sent an extra layer of protection for the child. If this were if I had ordered this, which I never would have, I don't order children to fly on planes at that age. So I'm grateful that there was the added layer of protection. You're sending a 9-year-old who's never been on a plane to a trip to Florida. No, she added a layer of protection. Did you guys, should she have told you? Probably. But would it have made a difference? Probably not. You still had your court orders that had to be followed. She was following them and then adding a layer of protection over and above that. Was it done as perfectly as possible? No. Bottom line, the 9-year-old was taken care of better than he would have been otherwise. So that's nothing to complain over. She did say that the two of you were not communicating very well at the time. I'm going to have to deal with the ability to get you guys to communicate. And so it's noted that the judge's order indicates it's by video or telephone is the communication with the child, not by video only. So with those two things noted, please proceed, sir.
Rika, did I prior to my son coming down here, did he not use your phone to video chat me?
Yes, in the past he would video chat too. It became an inconvenience for me because like I have my recipes on my phone. I need to use my phone to talk to people. And then you were talking to him for an hour and sometimes longer. So it would be, I would need to get my phone back so I can function. So then I got a separate phone for him to take to Florida. And then he's been using that ever since. So I can exclusively use my phone.
So the child now has a phone of his own?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
which I purchased.
Okay. And now you have the ability to find him anywhere he's at. One of the benefits of giving a child a phone, yes.
One of the few.
Rika, let me ask you, does Hendrik have a problem with playing video games, and it has been affecting his ADHD? Does Hendrik have a problem with playing video games? Does it affect his ADHD? And has he lied to you and me about playing video games while he's been conversating with us?
Can you describe what a problem is? What do you mean by problem?
Problem meaning a severe addiction to video games.
Severe addiction? No, does not have a severe addiction.
Okay.
This would be a good question for Trevor.
I actually,
Who's Trevor? Oh, that's his psychologist.
Dr.
Yeah.
Essick, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would have been a good question for the doctor.
okay. So let me ask you, Rico. Why would you suggest coming down here and staying in a hotel and having my son spend the day with me and going home with you when I have successfully had him here already for 2 weeks?
Because that was a forced 2 weeks. That I felt like that was a rushed decision by the judge who did not take full consideration into the situation. And it was hard on Hendrik. He's asked me specifically later on to have it where I do come down with him and he spends the day with you and then sleeps by me or Graham and Grandpa. He requested this himself. It's for his comfort. It's not to stop him from getting to know you. It's for what makes it would actually be better for you guys. He would have a space to himself at night so he can relax and then he can hang out with you during the day. I don't see the problem with this.
Rika, did Hendrik not sleep next to me the entire 2 weeks? Did he not? I don't. Can you
think
explain
understand
to?
what I'm saying? He did sleep next to you. He had never been away from me before. It's very stressful for a child to go do something like that out of state without any of his normal comforts, right? He needs to be able to relax and de-stress.
Okay, let me ask.
So having a space with me or grandma and grandpa would help him, you know, process and calm down and enjoy his time more. Because it's what he knows. He got thrown into a situation where he'd never done this before. He'd never been around you for more than a couple hours. You know, so it would be stressful to anyone, especially a child.
Okay. Did he have a good time?
He seemed to enjoy like the soccer. He was a little bored from time to time, like you gave him cards to play with. He didn't like that. But there, you know, he liked the cat. You know.
Well, Your Honor, I have pictures. I
I'm
have
sure you do.
pictures that. Yes. Hendrik had a terrific time with me, and there's absolutely no reason why. There's absolutely no reason why you should.
Are you giving
Why
testimony?
there should be a reunification process.
All right.
Like, I don't.
Are there questions in here somewhere?
Yes, Your Honor. Have you ever withheld Hendrik from me because of Vanessa?
The Vanessa? No. No,
Okay,
I
have you
brought
ever,
him to you knowing Vanessa was there. I
yeah,
asked her
but
to
you
not be there again, and she insisted, and so I said, okay, even though it was our vacation, I still brought him over to you. With Vanessa there.
did you, Your Honor, I would like to present page 11, the exhibit that's on page 11.
Mhm. Page 11 is part of a trial brief. That's not an exhibit. That's part of your trial brief.
Okay, what page 11 is Levy with Vanessa.
Is what? Page 11 is part of your trial brief labeled as defamation and disruptive behavior by defendant mother. Yes. You elicit that through testimony, not as placing that as an exhibit.
Rico, do you think I love Hendrik?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I've even told him that.
Okay. Rika, do you think it's important that I have a bond with my son?
I have thought before in the past, and part of the reasons that I've always brought Hendrik over to see you and it helped with the communications is that I believe fathers are important in a child's life. There's some things that a father can provide that a mother can't, and I understand that there's reasons why I'm still connecting you guys where we don't get along, and I want to distance myself from you, but I'm still having Hendrik connect with you. I've never stopped that.
you see how you said that you wanted to continue distancing yourself from me? That's
Yes,
why you're
I
on
do want to distance myself from you. I do.
why in the trial brief, Your Honor, I'm asking for parenting. I'm asking for parenting, combined parenting counseling. Rika,
You don't need to get along.
you
It's
think
about Hendrik. If you get your time with Hendrik and I get my time with Hendrik, that's what this is about. We don't have to be buddies. I'm sure it helps with the communication, but you have shown time and time again that you are not a person who cares for me and that you do whatever you want to do. So it's
I'm
better
sorry, say that.
to not have you in my life, and I'm trying to keep a distance from you. I'm not restricting Hendrik from you.
Well, I beg to differ, and I have this information in my trial brief where I have dates and times where you have uh, ignored my communication and my intention to communicate
Yes,
with.
there are 3 times that I have stopped communicating with you. And each time I set my parents in place to be the liaison between us. So that if you needed anything or I needed to contact you, they would be the ones to reach out to. And I set that up each time. Even most recently, my dad texted you and said that he would be the contact if you needed to get a hold of Hendrik or if anything was happening to reach out to him. And he would let me know.
So then let me ask you, when I reached out to your father, now that you're mentioning that, when I reached out to your father on both Christmas and New Year's Eve, why did I not get a a call from Hendrik?
Did you talk to Hendrik on Christmas and New Year's? It might have been the day after Christmas because we're busy. We have our own family stuff going on. But you could schedule that with me ahead of time. You could have let my dad know a couple days before and we would have been there on the phone for you.
Rika, I've reached out to you several times. It's in my trial brief
Did
where
you
you
reach out
out.
to my father or did you text my phone directly? Because I
No,
have blocked you on my phone. You have to reach
You-
out to my father.
you blocked me on your phone.
Yes,
Then
I
how
don't
can
want, I don't, does that not make sense? I don't want to have contact with you directly.
All right,
Unfortunately,
let's-
you're the mother and he's the father, and there's going to have to be direct contact. We're just going to have to find a better way to do it.
It cannot, can it not go through my parents?
Just as I would not make you go through Vanessa. I don't do third-party contacts.
It
What I
does
will
go
order is
through-
something, what I will order is something on the lines of My Family Wizard, which is a third-party go-between between the two of you that monitors conversations and can flag if the conversation is inappropriate. But it also keeps timelines of when it's sent and when it's responded to, and it is for exactly these type of reasons, which is then you can arrange a time period to connect without the interference and with some oversight to make sure the communication is not inappropriate.
And
Unfortunately, I did not choose the parents here. You guys chose the parents.
Right.
So both of you have to be the parent, no third parties. Now, if you want to send on like your mother went for that plane trip, great. You know, third parties are always allowed to, you know, transport if necessary, but they're not the main communication between the parents. You guys are both the parents. So you can't just block the other parent. Sorry.
so then I don't, Vanessa sometimes has reached out to me and I've asked her to stop. So
Right, which is like I'm telling you, I would never order her to do that either. What would have to be done is it's going to have to be done through, and I guess, Mr. Marine, I would ask, because I understand close app or close app,
App close, yeah.
close app close,
App
whatever,
close.
is free.
That's
it
the
does the
free
same
one.
thing.
Yeah. Our
Yeah,
family
why-
wizard. Yeah.
Why don't we do, why, I will issue an order today that the parties are to,
Download.
I'll give them 7 to 10 days to download app close and to
Right.
communicate through app close succinctly and solely.
I think that's a great idea, Your Honor.
Yeah. Also, I believe AppClose has an ability to do video chats with the child.
It does. It's what we use in Wayne County.
Yeah, so that may be
Yeah.
what is necessary for both of you, and it might solve some of these other issues.
And it's free.
Okay.
Some
And it's
of the
free.
problems with the phone is that it's Hendrik's phone and it's a kid's phone, and there's only
Understood.
specific apps that are on it.
Well,
that has been
if
part of
it
the problem.
works, it works. What device are you using now?
He has a TrueMe phone.
What device are you using
Oh.
right now for this hearing?
This is a computer.
Okay. Maybe he can utilize that to talk with his father.
Yes, that was one of the options I gave him, and he chose
Yeah.
not to do that.
No. So if AppClose would go on that computer, then you guys can use AppClose, and now we've got some of your problems solved.
Great, okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm bringing it up in the middle of a hearing. Normally I wait until the end of the hearing, but I'd like to, like I said, I'm just here to get you guys through this. That's all I'm trying to do. So if that's an order that I can issue that will help both of you right now and into the future, wonderful. Okay. Please proceed, Mr. Martin. Any questions on AppClose?
I would like to say that I don't have any questions on the app. That's perfectly fine, and I've always have been very willing and motivated to see my son visually.
Okay.
The one thing that I want to address, Rico, one thing that I want to address is your aggressive behavior regarding Vanessa. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever snatched a phone out of Hendrik's hand because he's been greeted or said hi to Vanessa?
I snatched it out of his hand.
Yeah. Do you
I remember
an
telling him he has to go. I remember that you were trying to put Vanessa in his life, and I said, you need to get off the phone.
that I was trying to, can you repeat that, please?
You were introducing him to Vanessa and putting her in his life over the phone. You didn't talk to me about this. I'm not comfortable with it. I told him he had to get off the phone.
Okay, so you don't remember when he was spider climbing up a wall and he was he was showing to Vanessa, hey, Vanessa, look what I can do. And you don't remember coming and snatching the phone out of his hand and him even telling you, Mom, can I talk to my dad? What's the problem?
I don't remember
Objection.
that.
Okay. Well, what's the objection?
There was some hearsay in there.
There's not enough hearsay to override the actual
Listen.
situation. The question goes to the event of taking the child's phone or interfering with the phone call. That can be answered. So the objection's overruled.
Okay, and then let me ask you another question, Rika. Do you remember when Hendrik was showing me a magic trick on the phone? And then I called Vanessa over and I was like, hey, Vanessa, look at this cool magic trick that Hendrik's doing. And then you told him when he was showing the magic trick to Vanessa, you told him, that's enough. Tell your dad that you want to speak with him, that you need to speak with him directly and not with her. And you forced him to get off the phone. Do you remember that incident?
I don't remember it, but I wouldn't, if I'm not comfortable with Vanessa and then she keeps talking to him on the phone after I've expressed that I'm not comfortable with it, then that's gonna come up.
Okay, my concern is that Vanessa's not going anywhere. She's my partner. So I'm just trying to create an environment where there's just a little bit of maturity and acceptance. Like I just want to create an environment where there's acceptance and maturity. And Vanessa's never done anything wrong with Hendrik. As a matter of fact, when Hendrik
again, this is not your time to testify. This is her time.
Yes, sir.
So if you're asking
Yes, sir.
questions, in general, unless in the absence of any criminal sexual conduct background or abuse neglect background, I can't control either one of you having another partner. The only thing I can
Okay.
control is if there's a concern that partner would be abusive to the child. Because you don't like each other does not matter. It's involved with the child, and there's going to be an allowance for that, ma'am. Just as I wouldn't let him interfere if you get a significant other. Again, in the absence of any criminal sexual conduct background or abuse neglect background or a fear of that person harming the child. So, but other than that, the court does not. You guys both have a First Amendment right to associate with whomever you wish to do. And if that person's in the child's life, we got to just enjoy the fact that that child's going to have more people involved with that child. So yeah, eventually we're going to have to move on from that. And that'll be part of the court ruling then. Okay, please proceed.
Rika, I want to ask you. Have you has Vanessa ever tried reaching out to you and having a conversation with you and trying to introduce herself to you so we could have a cordial relationship? Has she ever tried to speak to you?
I called and left me a message. Not that I remember.
Okay, let me ask you this. When you got involved in a serious relationship with your boyfriend Terry and you were in the process of with him, did I not speak with him and have a decent conversation with him?
Thing about him was he talked to you. I wasn't trying to block you from speaking with him.
Okay, so then if I could speak with him and have open communication and a transparent relationship with a gentleman that you were potentially planning on marrying, then why does that not apply to my partner, to Vanessa?
Because I said I can't control who you involve in your life and the child's life. That doesn't mean she has to like her or be friends with her. She's going to have the knowledge, the fact that the child's going to have to get to know that person. She doesn't have to. I'm not going to make her date your current significant other, just as I would not make you date her current significant other. You don't have to have contact. I said we allow for it, but I'm not going to make people try and be friends with people that they don't need to be friends with. They just have to engage in the fact that those people are going to be involved in someone's life.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I just want harmony. I just simply want harmony because I think that it is counterproductive for my son to know that there's some type of tension between her and Vanessa. So I'm trying to
Welcome to
create
life.
Exactly. I'm trying to
Again,
create
I don't have to get the two of you to get along. You broke up for a reason. I just have to get the two of you to work together to make your son's life better. I'm not asking you to like each other. So I'm not going to ask her to like your girlfriend, nor am I going to ask your girlfriend to like her. I am just going to ask you all to be adult enough to engage for the child's benefit. It's the child's best interest that we're working on, not yours or hers.
Okay, so
it goes both ways, bottom line. So she was right in the fact that she doesn't have to get along with you. She just has to parent with you. Just like, and it's your right to, again, engage in some third party or significant other that you have that you're going to have around the child. Acknowledged, but do I have to make everybody get along as adults? No, I just have to get you to parent the child and do so that the child can move on with their life. And then you guys can save up for psychotherapy instead of college into the future. In any event, let's move on in next question.
Is your knowledge about Vanessa hearsay?
I'm sorry. Is my knowledge about Vanessa hearsay?
Okay. Let me ask you this, Rika. Have you ever demanded Vanessa pay child support?
I have asked her, since you have not been able to, if she could pay instead. not child support, but if she could contribute. And it sounds like she's been paying for the jujitsu classes because she threatened to take it away.
No, I take the $130 out of my monthly disability check and send it to you.
You don't send it to me, it goes to the gym. I don't touch it. Just to clarify.
Okay, so you feel that, so you don't feel that Vanessa has been used against me to see my son, to not see my son?
No, the situation you're in has made it very difficult. I would prefer if it was your mother there, if your mom was there with Hendrik, I would be happy with that.
Okay, so your chief complaint why my son can't come spend a month with me in summer
No,
is because
no.
no.
My chief complaint is he hasn't spent any time with you and that it's being forced on him. I'm sorry. He needs to get to know you slowly. Don't just drop him into it. You know, it's a different world and he's a kid. I don't want my son to be traumatized because he's being dumped into these situations and going back and forth. There's no reason it can't be gradual. You just don't want it to be. I asked you to do it gradually and you said no, you're going to do the whole 2 weeks.
Wait a minute, I didn't even ask for 2 weeks. The judge, Judge Brian, felt that was appropriate for me to have him.
Objection. Let's refrain. Let's just keep
Yeah,
it to questions
bottom
and
line,
testimony.
the judge ordered what the judge ordered in the temporary order. At this point, there's not much I can do about it. It was done, it was complied with. Let's see what needs to be done for the future. Both of you give me the evidence I need to determine whether the 2 weeks is appropriate, whether we need to back off and do this gradually, or whether it would be appropriate to give an entire month. I'm not sure. You guys haven't given me much evidence about that. You've given me information about your past and some interactions with the child, which was helpful. So please continue.
Well,
Because all I'm hearing is why you don't like each other or like each other's significant others or have tried to get along but can't. And great.
My last conversation with Hendrik, where he was explaining to me that he plays with his friends on Fortnite. Did you not feel that I was having an excellent conversation with him? Do you think that when Hendrik talks to me about jujitsu and video games and his games at soccer and how he wants to win 4 World Cups, do you not think that that's productive and positive? Do you not think that I have good rapport with my son?
Well, when I overheard that conversation I thought you set that up. You did that specifically for today because the conversation you had with him before was him asking you to move your call back 30 minutes and you berating him about asking to move the time back and giving him a hard time because he wanted to play a little bit more Fortnite, which got delayed, and he just wanted to finish his game with his friends, and you berating him over it and saying, I'm always making my calls. I'm always calling at 5. I'm always going to be calling at 7. And you missed the call before. And you're really digging into about it. And then you abruptly say goodbye to like punish him for it. So, you know, yeah, you can be nice when you want to be nice, but then there's a lot of times where you're overly harsh to him.
Rika,
You embarrassed him in front of his friends.
let me ask you something, Rika. How long have you known that I call him on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5, and on Sundays, no, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5, and Sundays at 7 o'clock. How long have you known that?
Well, that's not the times. The time is Tuesday, Thursdays at 7 and Sunday at 5. And that has been set up since the temporary order with the judge. I think it did get modified at one point after meeting with the friend of the court. We agreed to a different time on Sundays.
What times have you
Okay.
agreed to?
It was
And
the Tuesday, Thursday, 7 p.m., 5
Tuesday?
p.m. on Sundays.
Hold it. I only write so fast.
Okay.
Tuesday and Thursday.
At 7.
Okay. I only write so fast to make it legible. Tuesday and Thursday at what, 7?
7.
Okay. And
Sundays at 5.
okay. And those are the acceptable times, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Thanks. That gives me something about where you guys are at, because I didn't know from testimony so far when that is, other than the order that says 3 times per week, Sunday afternoons at 5, Mondays and Wednesdays at 7. So you guys have altered that to Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7. Okay. Thank you for that
So-
confirmation.
Okay. Sarika, let me ask you, if you know that I'm calling him Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 and Sunday at 5, why would he be playing a video game on the time that I'm calling him when I only have a 30-minute window with him? I mean,
You don't have a 30-minute window with him. It's however long Hendrik wants to talk to you. And
Yeah.
sometimes life happens. Like we have other things going on. So every weekend in the morning on Saturday and Sunday, he gets to play at 8 to 9. And then in the afternoon, he gets from 3 to 4 to play this Fortnite. This means a lot to him. He likes Fortnite and he likes playing with his friends. So he looks forward to it. Something
So then
happened on Sunday. The time got shifted back. We did not think it would be a big deal for you to bump it 30 minutes, unfortunately, because you had missed the Thursday before. So we didn't think that you would be upset by this. So it was a little surprising for Hendrik that you were yelling at him about it.
I wasn't yelling. I never yell at my son. Let me ask you, has Hendrik spoken harshly to me?
Has he spoken harshly to you?
Yes.
He told you he has been short to you. When he asked you to shift the time, it was a little short-tempered. And then he asked you to mind your own business one time when he was asking me what was for dinner, because he didn't want you to be lecturing him about food like you typically do.
So let me ask you, do you think it's appropriate for my son when I ask him something, do you think it's appropriate for him to tell me it's none of your business?
Do I think that's appropriate? No, I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay. And then when I asked you to correct him and I sent you the text message, why did you not?
Whoa. Excuse me. Have you ever raised a 9-year-old? Come on, a 9-year-old with ADHD is going to say some stupid stuff. It's your responsibility to correct them and say, that's not the appropriate way to deal with that. Let's talk about a better way for you to tell me this. You can tell me, I don't want to tell you, Dad. You can tell him, just maybe you need to recorrect him then. Okay?
I did, Your Honor. And
If this is okay, and then move on. Your parenting time is time to be a parent. And it's time to understand what it is like to raise a child. Are they perfect? No. Learn how to deal with your child as your child. Don't expect the other parent to make that child act perfectly towards you. They don't act perfectly toward her. I'm sure the child told her the same thing. I don't know a child that doesn't tell a parent. Okay. So.
Absolutely. And I agree. And that's why I wanted to be involved in
and that's why we're trying to get you involved. That's why we're doing this hearing.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Rika, have you ever told me? Have you ever told me no one's going to take my son away from me?
No, why would I say that? No. When
You've
did
never
I say
told me
that? I
I'm
don't
not
have
going to
any
let you.
recollection of that.
Let me ask you, Rika, why did you not share with me the psychologist's information and the doctor's information? Why did you? Why did it take 2 years for me to have access to this?
What is this 2-year time frame you're talking about? You didn't know about Hendrix ADHD medicine until a year ago. What is this 2-year time frame? I don't
He's been,
remember you. I'm sorry.
okay. Listen to what you just said. You just said that I found out a year ago.
Yeah,
How
that's
long
what I
is
told you about his medicine.
okay? How long has Hendrik been on ADHD medications?
Oh, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so he was diagnosed in first grade. So it was at least late first grade till now. So,
What grade is
Um,
he in now? He's in fourth, correct?
yep.
So do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think it's appropriate that you withheld this information from me
How was I
for?
withholding the information?
I'm sorry, what was that answer? I was coughing. Forgive.
Oh, I, he's saying that I withheld the information and I'm asking for clarity on how I withheld the information.
What do you mean? You literally would not give me the psychologist number. As a matter of fact,
Did you
I
ask
didn't
me
even.
for the psychologist number? When did you
Ma'am,
ask me for his number?
don't play dumb on this. The child was diagnosed and given the medication in first grade. He didn't find out about it till a year ago. So he was not told about it for at least 2 years. The question is, why did you not tell him? Don't play dumb.
He was never involved with his doctor visits.
Okay.
He wasn't, he never asked, he's never gone to Hendrix appointment. He never gone to a dentist appointment. He never asked me about any of this stuff. And then I never talked to him about any of it. He didn't ask me about how his schooling was going. So it wasn't like we were normally talking about this stuff.
There's the
Let,
answer.
Oh,
Like I said,
okay.
you didn't have to play dumb. You just had to give an explanation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes the explanations are inherent. So don't try to hide anything. It's not helping, but that's a decent explanation. And
let
at
me
some point in time, maybe he can explain why he never asked what was going on with the child or the child's life. Or if he did, he can then go with that. Okay. All right. Continue, sir.
Rika, let me ask you a question. Have you ever used your sister's address instead of yours to prevent me from knowing where Hendrik lived?
I gave you my sister's address because I didn't want you to know where I was living because I knew that you would play games and do things to cause problems for me. For example, calling the cops on me, which you ended up doing, and they did go to my sister's house because you
Why?
were,
Let
I
me
was
ask
worried
you.
you would try to use some kind of leverage against me like that, and that's what you did. It wasn't to block you from knowing where Hendrik was. It was so I didn't have to worry about you doing something like that.
So you feel that not. So you feel that me not having Hendrik's address and me knowing where my son resides, you don't think that that's inappropriate?
Well, I wasn't required to give you my address. We didn't have anything set up legally. My sister lives 5 minutes from me, so I figured if you sent him anything, we would get it right away. And anything you sent there to Hendrik would come to me or to come to us because it's at my sister's. It was a way to protect myself from you.
Okay, then let me ask you, Rika, why did I call the Grand Rapids Police Department for a wellness check on my son?
Which time?
The time that you were withholding his phone calls from me, you didn't allow me to speak with him. You were ignoring my phone. Then I called the Grand Rapids Police. As a matter of fact, I have
Okay,
the
would you let
police.
her answer the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, you called the cops on us. This was after I received this, the legal documents you sent in the mail suing for custody. I figured you wanted to go through the courts to resolve all this. So then I stopped doing niceties and connecting you guys until it was resolved. And as soon as we had the order from Judge Bryant, your calls resumed. So you called the cops on me to bully me. When the cops got here, I told the cop the situation, that you had taken it to the court and I did not want to speak to you. And he said he would relay that to you.
How about the other time?
The other time you had told Hendrik to look into the sun because it was supposed to be good for him. I explained to both of you guys that that is not safe and not healthy. I showed Hendrik some videos on it. So there was some tension. You insisted that you wouldn't ever do anything to hurt your son, but that would be something that would hurt him. We went to the beach and there's no cell signal at the beach. And apparently you had called around the same time and couldn't get through. And then because of whatever reason you had, you felt like you needed to call the cops on me. And they went to my sister's house. My sister wasn't home. Her neighbor was there. She talked to the cops, told the cops that I'm a great mom and there's nothing to worry about. And the cops left.
So you're telling me that because I told my son that the sun is beneficial for his health.
No, to
That
look
that
into the
justifies-
sun. You told him to look
Yeah.
into the sun. It's different.
So do you think that justifies you withholding him from me for a week?
I
To the
didn't-
point. No, a month. You actually did it for a month. That's why I went to the extreme. I didn't speak to my son for a month. That's why I went to the extreme and called
I
the
don't believe that's
police
the
to
case.
get a well.
I don't believe I withheld him from a month.
All right.
Nothing
Is there a
set up.
question in here somewhere? Is there a question in here somewhere?
Yeah, the question is.
Oh.
The question, Riga, is did I not call the police because you were withholding them from me?
I believe you called the police to bully me. You had been speaking to him before. I'd been connecting your calls. You didn't like how I responded to something. And, you know, we were busy with life. And so if the call got longer, I wasn't about to fix it, but you still had contact with him. And then you called the cop. Like,
Okay, well, I have text evidence for a month. And I want to ask you, did you also refuse? Didn't you refuse to speak with the mediator?
I refuse what?
I set up a mediator for us. Did you not refuse to speak with the mediator?
This mediator that we met with?
No, not the mediator here that we tried to do. Did you not? Were you not? Did a mediator not reach out to you prior to this incident with the police officer? Did I not arrange for a mediator to reach out to you and you refused to communicate with the mediator?
I don't recall that. That was a long
Okay,
time
well,
ago.
all right. Well, it's in Exhibit F. proof that in Exhibit F, I have proof that there was communication between you and this mediator and that you chose not to do it. In other words,
When was this, sir?
the dates are on Exhibit F on my trial brief, sir.
Which page?
Page 75.
Thank you. All right. Getting there. I guess
Page 8.
my question would be, is this before the case was filed or after the case was filed?
It was before the case was filed because I was trying to prevent.
Okay. In that case, it's not relevant. You can offer mediation. The other side does not have to accept it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Mediation entails that both parties cooperate to do so. If they choose not to, then these are the consequences of court cases filed.
okay.
You're right. Can it be done through a mediator? Yes. But again, that takes the cooperation of both parties. So this was all prior, so that basically most mediations are not admissible in court because people tend to negotiate in ways that need to be free and clear of any court oversight. But if it was prior to the actual filing of the case, it's not really relevant to this. All that's relevant is that you tried to negotiate and she said no. And that's why we're here. Okay? So please proceed.
Rika, did you also not agree with the recommendations, and or what did you not? Why did you disagree to the recommendations of the Friends of the Court?
Court recommendation. Do you have that exhibit? I'm not remembering exactly.
Well, you're the one that objected to the recommendation of the Friend of the Court. That's why we're having a hearing. What is your understanding of why you objected?
Well, I wanted to do the graduated time frame for Henry to, reintroduce him to his dad. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to remember what they recommended. They were granting him more parenting time, which I felt like needed to be graduated, and I wanted it to be more like, he'll come for a couple days, a couple times of the year, or, that we set something up that's a little safer for Hendrik than what they did. And
Did the Friends
and that I should also have full legal custody of him. Because I've been taking care of him this whole time. He's been fully on me, and it's going to cause problems having to make decisions in the future.
Let me ask you, Rika, do you feel that the Friends of the Court did not take into account the dynamic between all three of us? Did she not interview the young lady from Friends of the Court? Did she not interview you, me, and Vanessa?
She interviewed all three of us. I wasn't sure why she interviewed Vanessa as much as she did, since she's not Hendrik's anything to do with Hendrik other than she's your caretaker and girlfriend. So yes, she interviewed the three of us. She did not interview Hendrik.
And I will have to interview Hendrik.
You will?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. The child is over 6 years old. It's a mistrial if I do not.
Yeah, she was
Again,
asking.
court proceedings and court hearings are different than front of the court.
Man, that is excellent. That is good.
One of the 12. It's one of the 12 factors I must do unless there's indication that the child would be too young. And again, there's case law now that says any child over 6 years old, it's a mistrial if I don't. Or in one case, I had one child who was had some issues of anxiety, and it was determined by both parents that they asked me not to interview because they realized that the anxiety level of the child would skyrocket. So under certain circumstances, I won't, but I haven't heard anything so far that I would not interview this child. So before I make a decision, I will be
What
interviewing
does
the
that
child.
look like?
What does that look like? Now that we do it by Zoom, it's a lot easier for them. They don't have to come into a courtroom that's intimidating. I'll interview them in their bedroom alone. I'll make sure that no one is in there with them, and then I will speak with them.
That's terrific, because the young lady who was supposed to, who told me she was going to interview him, and for whatever reason
I don't know what happened because the front of the court front of the court thing has not been entered into evidence, so I have not read it. So that's why I couldn't assist on what it said when she was objecting to it, because I'm like, I have no idea. You know, I
Okay, Your Honor,
glanced at the proposed order when we did the objection, but again, the rules of evidence apply here, so I'm trying to follow the rules, and I'm also trying to assist both of you in getting through this. So let's continue with the questions then.
Okay, Your
She
Honor.
she objected, and some of the inherentness of this is that she's stated all along she believes she doesn't disagree that you should have parenting time. She disagrees with the fact that it just is being shoved down the child's throat, in her opinion. Okay, that's pretty much where we're at. She also disagrees with the fact that child support is set at 0. And I can understand that, because we're asking for a bunch of stuff to be done. And she's doing this all on her own, monetarily speaking, for the most part. There's some indicia that you've contributed some, but again, not even close to what it took to raise this child so far. So I understand her concern. The problem is as I noted earlier in the court proceedings, my hands are tied by federal law on this one. I don't disagree with her, but I know that you don't have the ability. So we're all stuck there. So at this point, you may continue your examination, sir.
Given that you have contention with me, how would it look like with reunification?
You're muted.
Sorry. Ideally, I would like to see him go for a couple days. Like, it would be nice to do a couple days, maybe twice a year, or like a week twice a year. I also like the idea, if it's 2 weeks that he sleeps, that we go with him and then he sleeps separately, and then we'll bring him over in the morning and he stays all day. Something like that. And then gradually more time gets added on as he gets older and is more comfortable.
Okay. I feel that you're not answering the question. If you want to stay away from me, block me, and have no interaction with me, why would, after him successfully being here for 2 weeks, how would it, why? Like, how would that work? If you can't get along with me and you don't want to speak with me and keep your distance with me,
I wouldn't be
why
around.
would, after I successfully
Okay,
have...
well, all right. Now, ma'am, answer the question as to pertain, because it wasn't about the child's time with him. It was about how do you anticipate the two of you can interact to assist this to happen?
Oh, I anticipate we wouldn't be interacting other than dropping off and picking up. He'd have all his time with his pet.
Let me ask you something, Rika. Are you aware that Hendrik is super excited to come visit me next summer?
Are you saying that's something he said? I'm sorry.
Are you aware that Hendrik is super excited to come visit me in the
I wouldn't
summer?
call it super excited. I would say there's some things he's curious about and would like to do again. He's also stated that he wants me to go with him, that he doesn't want to go by himself. He doesn't want to sleep at your house. He wants to be by me and spend time with you during the days. That's what he said to me. He's also said he does not want to go back to Florida. There was a call we had together where Vanessa asked him point blank. He was pretty upset at the time during this call. And she asked him if he wanted to come back. He said no. And she said she's going to have to think about that because she pays for things. Do you not remember this call? This was after Florida.
Man, Rika, you shouldn't lie.
I'm not lying. I am not lying. This was a call we had.
You're under
Andrew
oath.
came home from
All right.
Florida.
All right, enough. Argumentative. Knock it off, both of you. The answer was the answer. Continue, sir.
Has Hendrik mentioned to you that he wants to fish when he comes down to Florida?
He mentioned to me that you said you got a fishing pole.
Are you aware that he's had conversations with me?
You guys have calls. I try not to listen in, but sometimes he's in the living room and I hear them. And some, yeah, you
Well,
have your
lately-
3 days a week call.
So you're not, so you're telling me that you feel that Hendrik is not excited about coming back down to Florida?
My feelings say that Hendrik is feeling both ways. He's feeling more like he does not want to go to Florida, but there are moments where there's things that he sounds like he's looking forward to, or he says that you're going to take him to go do something. He's not jumping up and down saying, I'm going to Florida. He's more often saying, I don't want to go to Florida. I don't want to be by my dad.
Rika, do you remember the first conversation I had with my son when he got back?
No, I wasn't in on
From
the
the
conversation,
vacation.
I don't believe.
Okay. So let me ask you. Was he happy when he showed you the pictures that were taken of him in Florida?
He was proud to show them.
He was proud to show them?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Now let me ask you, Rika, did you intentionally, or why is it that after I had the first conversation with Hendrik, visually on your cell phone, that immediately after that day, the first conversation, so basically since I have not spoken to Hendrik visually for the past 6 months as he left from Florida, is that not intentional? Did you not do that on purpose?
I needed my phone, right? So, and he had his phone. The phone has an app where you can video chat. And unfortunately, it has to go, it's only one option and it goes through Facebook. And because I don't friend you on Facebook, it means it doesn't work. And I didn't know this until we tried to figure it out. I also gave the option of going through Zoom on the computer. You chose not to go through Zoom and only wanted to go through my phone. But Zoom was another option, and you have still not used it with Hendrik.
I have tried Zoom Google, and for the past 6 months, I've been asking you to help me connect or do something with me being able to speak to him visually.
That's up to you to do.
Objection. Let's stick to questions. This is testimony, please.
Yeah, please. Agreed. Objection. Besides, we've gone over this. That's why I made an order
Yeah.
to use app close. I mean,
Okay.
we've already
Alright.
done this. You've gotten the point. She did it. She
Sure.
gave an answer. You haven't done the video. The order says video or phone. Some technical difficulties ensued. Now let's see if we can overcome those difficulties. I've already given an order pursuant to that. So
Okay.
let's go.
What's the app?
App close. Don't worry. Mr. Marine's going to do an order to that. You'll get a copy of it, hopefully. Mr. Marine, you can give him information on how to contact app close because you're gonna have to give the same information to your client. If you want to put
Yes.
that in the order, you're more than welcome to. Okay, that way they can do it. And then maybe that can be, like I indicated earlier, maybe it could be set up on the computer that she has instead of a phone. That way nothing's tied up that needs to be. And then obviously you've got a computer you can use, Mr. Martin, so that this child has a better communication ability. And let's face it, a 9-year-old playing video games with his friends, trust me, that always interferes with everything. Because you don't interfere in the middle of a game. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Now it would be nicer if Miss Coy, you could try and guide that child to say, look, here's a timer. Make sure you set a timer to say, look, you've got 5 minutes to end that session before you have to talk to your dad. That way we can get there's some things you can do that nobody thinks about because everybody's living their lives. But simple little things, especially with a child with ADHD, you might want to set a double timer, one for 10 minutes and one for 5 minutes. If you can't tell, my son was massively ADHD. He's now 30. You will live through it. It's not easy.
Okay, Rika, let me ask you a question. Do you not feel that it's appropriate to explore potentially weaning Hendrik off of ADHD medications?
I want Hendrik to be as successful as possible. I'd have to see evidence that would be a good move for Hendrik to do.
Rika, why didn't you communicate with me regarding putting Hendrik on ADHD medications? Like, why wasn't I given the opportunity to explore anything?
Objection. I believe that's been asked and answered.
I believe it's been asked, but I don't think I got an answer.
An answer. Okay.
Well, no, the answer was because you never engaged and you never even asked. So yeah, it has been asked and answered. Objection upheld. You're right. Never mind. It took me a minute to filter through everything.
There's
From
been
the
a
morning.
lot here.
Yeah, there's
today,
been a
Your
lot
Honor.
here. So, but that has been asked and answered, Mr. Martin. And the answer was basically you weren't that involved. And bottom line, this came to her attention through the school, from what I'm kind of getting the gist from what the psychologist testified to. This wasn't even hers. And that's what happens a lot of times. The school notices a problem and the school alerts the parent, and the school worked with the school counselor to get the psychologist involved. And they did a lot of testing for this. What I don't know is what medication is the child on?
So it's guanfacine.
Well, can I please have you look at Exhibit A, page 46?
What about it?
I asked to communicate with the doctor,
Right.
with the school,
Okay.
with her. With
Okay.
Rika,
Who did you ask?
I asked to communicate with Rika. It's the information.
Okay. So you asked her. And when is this from? It doesn't have it has Friday, April 12th. What year?
2024.
Okay. And it's my understanding that since this case has been involved, you have been able to contact the psychologist and you do know what this stuff is. So since that one, there has been a response to it, correct? That's been the testimony parts of this morning, correct? Did I miss something?
No, I
I mean,
just
you've known and you contacted the psychologist, you've been informed of what everything is. So, and this was in April, so that's obviously now indication of your first request. So, all right, next question.
the request. Yeah, the request was actually prior to court, Your Honor.
Okay.
I
Ma'am, did
was
you
asking
receive?
her.
Yeah, did you receive that email in April? Ms. Coy, you can unmute, please.
February.
Now this is dated April.
No, I'm sorry.
April and May. The
Yes,
page
sir.
that you pointed to is April and May.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Did you receive those texts where he was requesting?
Yes,
Eh,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. And did you inform him? Was there a response to these?
I did give him the doctor's information. I don't remember the time frame that I gave it to him.
Okay. All right. And Adderall and Ritalin is what he's prescribed, or is that?
No, that's Ulysses' opinion of what
Oh,
is,
okay. Yeah,
his
because
comment.
that's not always the one what is prescribed anymore. They have many other
Right.
choices, and what they do is sometimes they have to test them to figure out which works best for the child, because each child has a different metabolism and different biology. So some meds work, some meds don't. Okay.
I was seeking clarification, and this was prior to the court date. That's all I want to know. Why did you not respond to me when I was seeking clarification and asking you this information prior to the court date? That's part of the reason that I initiated serving you.
Because you weren't involved, you were not asking me about his health conditions or how his doctor visits went. So it's not like it was something that I'm like, oh, I should just. It wasn't something that we were discussing. I mean, we didn't talk that much to begin with. And then you didn't go out of your way to be like, make sure you tell me all of Hendrik's doctor's appointment visits and make sure you let me know when he has his teacher conferences. It wasn't
Judge,
ever requested before, so
Judge's video has frozen.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
notice it from my end.
Oh wow. Okay, you were so focused on what you were doing. I thought that
Well, I'm going through
that
I'm going through the potential exhibits. I was just reading them. I'm sorry. I've got two screens here. So I've got your brief up on the other screen. So while I'm listening to you, I'm intently trying to find what her response was. I apologize. I'll try not to be a statuesque anymore. I'll blink every once in a while. How's
absolutely
that? I'll
Yeah,
blink every once in a while.
absolutely
How's that? Okay. All right. Continue, please, folks.
So are you denying that I was asking you about?
no, you asked me.
Okay, so if I asked you, then why didn't you give me the information?
Well, when you asked me, we had a long history where I felt bullied very often, and you would be demanding things of me. So when you sent me that text, I thought, oh boy, he's doing it again. And then you called me immediately, like 2 times after that. And I really did not want to engage with you at that point because it was like all of a sudden you're going to be in my face about it. And then you called my mom, and I mean, she told me that you had called her and I was wondering what that was about. So I was like,
The reason
I didn't want to engage with you at that time because it's like you're going to be demanding something of me. And it's already been settled. He's been taking it for a long time.
So you're denying that I ever asked about Hendrik in school.
I remember reaching out to you about in 3rd grade with one of his teachers that was being difficult. I don't remember us having conversations about how his schooling was going. I think I told you he's having a hard time with school, and generally your responses are, yes, I didn't like school either. So
Okay,
again,
did I
we were not talking a lot. I was coordinating calls between you and Hendrik.
does your withholding or lying cause contention and hostility?
Argumentative.
Very much so. Upheld. Re-ask the question in another manner, sir.
Okay, do you feel that having negative interactions when Hendrik is present affects his well-being?
Yeah, I don't think that's good for him. I don't think it's good for him to have parents that argue.
Okay. And then let me ask you, and then why do you argue in front of Hendrik?
I remember one time arguing with you because you were saying something to him that was so offensive that I had to step in and be like, what are you saying? And I had to cut the conversation short. I don't, yeah.
What was I saying to my son that was so offensive?
Hold on, give me a second. This was a while ago, but I remember getting really mad at you and being like, oh, you were threatening him in a way. What was it? You were asking him, do you want to have a relationship? Oh, that's it. It was about the ADHD medicine. So this was when you were trying to find out what was going on with the medicine. So you were asking Hendrik about the medicine, and then Hendrik was reluctant to tell you, and you started saying, don't you want to have a relationship with daddy? You know, trying to manipulate him into telling him. So you're threatening to take away the relationship. And that's when I stepped in and I got really mad. I didn't think that was appropriate.
No, it's not hearsay. That's a conversation between the two of you. Party admission is what the hearsay exception is. The two of you can talk about what the two of you talk to each other about. It's third parties that are the problem.
So Rika, you're saying that we have not had several interactions over the phone while Hendrik's been present, especially in the kitchen?
You're asking me if we had several conversations on the phone with Hendrik present?
I'm asking you, are you telling me that we have not had several arguments while Hendrik is present?
There have been times where you were talking to Hendrik and I interjected with some of the things that were said, like the example I just gave. But when we have had conversations, I remember was when he was in Florida. I'm trying to remember other times that we've talked, but like we don't talk that much. If it is something, you're talking to Hendrik and then you ask Hendrik to speak to me or to speak to me during that conversation. So, you know, I know we don't get along, but I try not to fight with you in front of Hendrik.
Okay, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple minutes to discuss when the next trial date's going to be. So we'll go ahead and go off the record. We're going to recess at this moment. We'll leave off with the examination, and we'll